So RedBeard TV had the opportunity to sit down with one of the brains behind the operation, Devin Pike. Devin, how are you this morning?
I'm fantastic, but I want to clear this up right now. There is no brain involved in this head at all now, man.
This is the muscle behind the operation? Or?
I'll give you that one.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
The tensed up needing of massage muscles, but yeah.
Right, muscles nonetheless.
Nonetheless.
So Devin, tell us, how long have you been doing this? You've been with Dallas Comic-Con for quite a few years now.
I've been doing events on various capacities for about 7 or 8 years. Mark Walters, who's one of the driving forces behind the con, invited me out to MC a couple of panels at one point and couldn't get rid of me because I kept showing up and more people kept thinking I was supposed to be there, so I wasn't going to argue with them at that point.
So you just rolled with it?
Absolutely. If you act like you know where you're supposed to be going and are supposed to be there, people pay attention. I don't know if you're aware of this, having shoehorned your media crews through events that you had no business being involved in at all.
So, I mean, obviously, like events like this take a lot of planning. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Almost every time I see you at these things, like even at the beginning, you're already kind of like, man, I'm tired. Tell us a little bit of like what it takes to put into like planning of these events.
Generally, the event isn't over before we have to start planning the next one, because it's not just hey, there's a couple weeks left, let's put on a show. For stuff like the Saturday Night Shindig, we have to line the venue up far in advance because there are other acts that want to get in the same space. You want to make sure that you have good shirt vendors. You want to have good printing stuff. You have no idea how hard it is to find badge holders. These clear plastic things are so hard to find the right ones. And you find printers that can do the right stuff. So you have to line all that stuff up in advance, and then you wait for everything else to fall in. You start selling tickets, and you start getting the word out on social media. We have a fantastic woman who runs social media. Brandy is the unsung hero of us because we can't go door to door and put flyers in people's houses. They get kind of antsy about that. So the work that Brandy and Shelley over at Fan Expo Canada do to make these events public and worldwide is astonishing. So it's all I want to say it's all a planned strategy, because it's not, because when you make John Lennon, phenomenal quote, life is what happens when you make other plans. Well, life is what happens when you make a con or you do a party, because all the planning in the world blows up 72 hours prior to it, and then it's like, okay, we have a plan B, that's out the window. We're on plan F, I think, which is appropriate. So all the planning in the world is great, but you still have to be able to be agile and execute when things do happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to point out even things just like lanyards and the badge holders. Those are things that like someone has to plan. And a lot of people kind of take that for granted, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. One of the things I'd like to point out is how significant and how big Dallas Comic-Con has been. I mean, I've been following you guys for a couple of years. We were here at Fan Days Expo 2 years ago, and this year it's like twice as busy. Of course, Dallas Comic-Con a couple months back was huge. It was actually at the Dallas Convention Center. I mean, where do you guys plan to go from here?
We're actually looking to grow the con we have in May, because when we were at the Dallas Convention Center, I'm sorry, the K. Bailey Hutchison Dallas Convention Center, you always want to get the right branding in.
Right.
Hey, the woman paid a lot of money. We want to make sure she gets her money's worth. We were only in about 25% of the available space at the May show. And still, we could have gone bigger. We had the head count is always weird to do. I think total attendance wound up being around 60,000 people, and we can go bigger with it when we do full cast reunions of shows like we did in May with Firefly and the majority of the cast with Star Trek Next Generation. We can accommodate those panel rooms, and we can still do the smaller rooms too, and be able to have 2 or 3 programming tracks going. But the one thing that we want to do is we don't want to make it so overwhelmingly big that it turns into a San Diego or even a Dragon Con. Dragon Con is in San Diego, New York Comic Con, C2E2. Those events are the ones that are mentioned as the gold standard, and you're starting to hear Dallas Comic Con being mentioned in that space. And it's heartwarming for us, because the core group of people who worked on this are just tirelessly trying to make the best fan experience possible, and that's the only thing that drives it. It's not hey, can we get the entire cast of Doctor Who here? Wait, I think my nipples just went somewhere. That's just going to be one of those things. But it's just where we want to go is just giving fans the best experience possible, and not being able to say, well, we just kind of half-assed that one, because that's not why we're here. We're not go through all this pain and suffering, and I'm not exaggerating right now. I'm in so much pain, dude. It's not even funny.
Well, it's worth it, because it's been a fantastic experience this weekend. I mean, I think what you said was really important. Is we want to, you guys want it to be as big as possible, but accessible.
Absolutely.
For the fans, and we want to make sure the fans are able to check it out. One thing I do want to touch on is cosplay. You've been a huge supporter of the cosplay community. That's something with us at RedBeard TV we really support, because it's such a cool community, such amazing people, all the effort that goes into it. What does cosplay mean to you?
The funny thing about cosplay for me, because I'm not a cosplayer,
Right.
I appreciate it. I have massive respect for the folks who, and you hear that cosplay has gone professional and people have jobs in reality shows. But that's like 1/10 of 1% of the people who will come home from work after an 8-9 hour shift and then spend 3 or 4 hours on craft foam and mylar and spandex and Warbler. I didn't even know what the hell Warbler was 3 years ago, but I have such massive respect for these folks. And actually, the second thing that I did for DCC all those years ago was MC a costume contest. And when you look at their cards and you hear their stories about this took approximately 112 hours to make, and I had to blend the paint because it wasn't the right color, and I threw away the first 3 builds of it. And that kind of dedication is not something for everybody, but it's such an amazing creative outlet that is an art form, and I think that it's finally getting the respect that it deserves. And the other thing that I'm so moved by is how many people use cosplay to make a difference in their community, whether they're going to charity events dressed up in those characters, or going to hospitals and visiting kids with terminal disease or life-threatening illnesses. You hear these stories over and over again, and I don't think that they're getting told the right way. I think people just look at, oh, look, he's dressed as Batman, mang. There's so much more to it, and if I can do anything for the cosplay community, it's making sure that the cosplayers who are doing it are getting their due.
So, Devin, I want to thank you for taking the time today to talk to us on this wonderful, beautiful day in October. Last couple years ago, normally Octobers are pretty dreary, but it's been a beautiful weekend.
So gorgeous. Such a great day.
A beautiful weekend for Fan Days Expo here at the Irving Convention Center. Devin, thank you so much. Make sure you guys follow Dallas Comic Con at Dallas Comic Con. Where can we find you on Twitter?
Just Devin, JustDevin, or on Facebook. Look, just Google me. I'm everywhere. I'm a media whore. I can't help it.
Devin is all over the place. Make sure you guys subscribe to RedBeard TV, and we're going to, as much as Dallas Comic Con is growing, we're going to be right there with you guys.
I love it, and RedBeard TV is one of my favorite subscriptions on YouTube, and if you're not subscribed yet, what the hell's wrong with you? Click the button. It's one button. Click the button, you Marmaluke!
From the words of Devin Pike, click the button.
Click the button.
Tattoo is my tramp stamp. I'm not joking. Devin. I have a tramp stamp. You want to see it?
No.
You do want to see it?
No, I don't.
It's a butterfly with your face right in the center.
It should be.
It's.
You told people we weren't going to... What, God?